Chapter 4139. Clouds follow dragons and wind follow tigers. 38. Even the Empress Dowager felt that she had to look up to the girl. What was wrong with this world? The Empress Dowager was so frustrated that she didn't know why. Meanwhile, everyone was shocked by what Patriarch Huyen said. Feng Sun and Lady Northern Feng had already come back. Lady Northern Feng turned to Feng Sun. What's going on? Feng Sun was elated. He then turned to Lady Northern Feng and said, I know that. Patriarch Huyen really treats Xiao Wu very well. When we went to Northern Yen, we lived in his tower. Even the king of Northern Yen couldn't enter it at will. Lady Northern Feng was pleasantly surprised as well. Good. She was worried that Patriarch Huyen was only joking. If that was the case, what would happen to Xiao Wu? Meanwhile, Yen Yu stared at Patriarch Huyen and suddenly said, If you're protecting this girl, fine. We won't touch her, but you can take her with you. What was that supposed to mean? Although Yen Yu didn't say it explicitly, everyone understood what he meant. So, Patriarch Huyen is only protecting Feng Wu? What should we do? What about the Junhua Empire? Didn't Yen Yu mean that Patriarch Huyen should take Feng Wu away? Are the rest of us going to die? Many people were so agitated that they burst into tears. What should they do? What should they do? Right now, everyone looked at Feng Wu as if she was their savior. Even those who didn't like Feng Wu before now looked at her expectantly. Help us. Feng Wu is our only hope now, but what can she do? After all, the Dayan Empire is the one that's going to destroy us. Patriarch Huyen can save her, but he can't save the Junhua Empire, can he? But from what I heard, isn't Patriarch Huyen supposed to be very capable? Moreover, he's backed by a very capable Sacred Mu Cliff, isn't he? But even if that's the case, can Sacred Mu Cliff really compete with the power of the Dayan Empire? Even if they can, why would they save us? At that thought, the crowd lost all hope. But everyone was still looking at Feng Wu expectantly. What if a miracle happened? As expected, Feng Wu said indifferently, I'm not leaving. Patriarch Huyen didn't seem surprised by Feng Wu's words. He seemed to know Feng Wu's choice from the very beginning. Yen Yu stared at Feng Wu. What did you say? Feng Wu glanced at him and said casually, I said, I'm not leaving. Yen Yu said coldly, Are you really going to throw your life away for these people and the Junhua Empire? Think about it. The others all gave Feng Wu indescribable looks. Even Miss Tao and Gong Sun Qing, who used to be green with envy toward Feng Wu, looked at Feng Wu in astonishment and admiration. She said that she wouldn't leave. If they were in Feng Wu's place, they would never have made such a choice. However, Feng Wu only smiled at Yen Yu. I've thought about it calmly. I'm not leaving. Chapter 4140. Clouds follow dragons and wind follow tigers. 39. He glared at Feng Wu. I can let your family go with you. Everyone in the Junhua Empire stared at Feng Wu nervously. Especially the Empress Dowager, who was looking at Feng Wu in a way that even she herself couldn't see. Feng Wu smiled. I told you already. The Junhua Empire is here, and I'm here. If the Junhua Empire falls, I'll die with it. This was a kingdom that Jun Linyuan wanted to protect, and she had to protect it for him no matter what. B0XO. Calm Emperor Wu was touched. Everyone of the Junhua Empire was touched. Even the Empress Dowager looked at Feng Wu with tears in her eyes. She looked at Feng Wu as if she was looking at a fairy. Why was this girl so adorable? However, Yen Yu was obviously infuriated. He glared at Feng Wu and said, So, you're going to learn it the hard way. Feng Wu smirked. How are you going to punish us, then? He ignored Feng Wu and turned to Patriarch Huyen. Senior Huyen, did you hear that? I gave her a chance and even let her leave with her family, but she turned me down. I'm not to be blamed. Patriarch Huyen glanced at him and smirked. Yen Yu wasn't intimidated. Even though he knew that Patriarch Huyen was from the Sacred Mu Cliff, he only bowed a little. However, he remained where he was, for he knew that if he couldn't do it today, he would never be able to do it again. Why weren't Uncle Yen and Uncle Wang here yet? At that critical moment, Uncle Yen and Uncle Wang arrived. Two streaks of light flashed across the sky in the distance and landed on the ground. My lord! Uncle Yen was surprised to see this. Wasn't the battle supposed to be one-sided? Why was there a confrontation? It meant that they were evenly matched. Yen Yu glanced at Uncle Yen and Uncle Wang. The next second he jumped up and pounced at Feng Wu. To defeat the enemy, one had to catch the leader first. Feng Wu was the leader here. Everything would be fine as long as she was caught. To Yen Ye's surprise, Feng Wu was already prepared for battle and had even made a secret plan with Little Phoenix. Therefore, when Yen Yu pounced at Feng Wu crouched down and slid past him. Little Phoenix spat out a mouthful of poisonous gas. Because Little Phoenix could turn invisible and it hadn't shown up yet, Prince Yen Yu had no idea of its existence. Hence, he was caught off guard. What's that? Yen Yu tried to wipe his face, for he felt itchy all over, especially his eyes. Tears rolled down his cheeks. However, before he could do anything, Patriarch Huyen flared up. How dare you sneak up on Xiao Dui? Infuriated, Patriarch Huyen picked up Yen Yu. Uncle Yen and Uncle Wang weren't to be trifled with. They charged at Patriarch Huyen as soon as the Crown Prince made his move. Just then, Patriarch Huyen grabbed Yen Yu with one hand, lifted him up, and stared at the two men. Do you still want your prince alive? Or do you want to collect his body? It was a blatant threat. Uncle Yen and Uncle Wang exchanged looks, and both saw frustration in each other's eyes. Chapter 41-41. Clouds follow dragons and wind follow tigers. 40. Mr. Huyen was so fast that he was definitely better than them. Uncle Yen and Uncle Wang stared at Mr. Huyen, and Uncle Yen narrowed his eyes. Put the prince down. Patriarch Huyen didn't beat around the bush. He tossed Yen Yu over. Catch. And the force he used was terrifying. Both Uncle Yen and Uncle Wang exerted all their strength and almost lost their footing. However, even if they did catch Yen Yu, his face went ghastly pale. He covered his chest with both hands and only calmed down after a while. Let's go. Without another word, he led the others away. B0XO. Calm. These people were indeed from the Yen Manor. They left without asking any unnecessary questions. People of the Junwo Empire were over the moon. Was the person who wanted to destroy the Junwo Empire finally leaving? However, Yen Yu stopped after a few steps. Everyone held their breaths as soon as he stopped. What was it now? Yen Yu looked from the crowd to Feng Wu and smirked. Do you think you've won? No, Patriarch Huyen is here to protect you, but remember this. The Empire is more powerful than you think. And you, Patriarch Huyen? Sacred Mu Cliff used to be so powerful that all forces trembled in fear, but now that Master Mu is gone, is it still the same? I hope you'll behave yourself and don't bring Mr. Wuya any trouble. He'll be back in a year. The day I come here will be the day the Junwu Empire falls. Before that, Yen Yu had a cold look in his eyes. It seemed that they really could work on the Sacred Mu Cliff now. Disciples of the Sacred Mu Cliff were in the Junwo Empire and were protecting a girl who had the same divine phoenix blood as Master Mu. That was a very big deal, and the princess would be interested. Of course, the Yen Manor wasn't enough to handle the Sacred Mu Cliff. They had to get the princess involved. Yen Yu gave Feng Wu a long look, left a one-year promise, and left with the others. They left promptly, leaving behind a mess after the battle. An idea struck Patriarch Huyen, and he said to Feng Wu, "Take care of yourself." "What about you?" Involuntarily, Feng Wu took Patriarch Huyen's arm. Patriarch Huyen said, "It's urgent. I'm afraid I can't stay." Patriarch Huyen left as quickly as he came as if he had never been there. But because of him, the Junwo Empire remained intact. Otherwise, it would have been wiped out already. After that, many people realized how important it was to have a capable cultivator. Today was supposed to be Feng Wu's birthday, but after everything that had happened, no one was in the mood to attend the banquet anymore. They all left. Lady Wang, Feng Sang, and the others saw the guests off. Only Emperor Wu, the Empress Dowager, and a few others left behind. Emperor Wu looked into Feng Wu's eyes. He knew better than anyone else that if it hadn't been for Feng Wu, Patriarch Huyen wouldn't have arrived. The Junwo Empire would have been in ruins by now. Chapter 41-42, New Start, 1. Xiao Wu. Emperor Wu patted Feng Wu on the shoulder. "I'll cut to the chase. After all, the Junwo Empire is mine now, but it'll be yours and the Crown Prince's one day." Feng Wu was dumbfounded. Although she wanted to explain, a lot of people rushed to her side and thanked her in excitement. They saw with their own eyes that Feng Wu had indeed saved them all. A few steps away, Lady Wang and Feng Sang exchanged looks. Looking at Feng Wu and recalling what they had done to her, they shuddered inwardly. B0XO. Calm. The Empress Dowager stood next to Emperor Wu and watched Feng Wu with an indescribable feeling in her heart. Involuntarily, she looked away, for she felt rather embarrassed when she recalled what she had done to Feng Wu. "Let's go back." The Empress Dowager left in a sorry state. Emperor Wu nodded at Feng Wu. "Come to see me after this is over." Feng Wu nodded. Emperor Wu left as well. In the end, only members of the Feng clan were there. Xiao Wu. Lady Wang hesitantly took a few steps forward with a guilty look on her face. "Xiao Wu, it was all my fault. I shouldn't have." Feng Wu looked at Lady Wang indifferently and waved her off. "It's all in the past now, and you've turned over a new leaf. Don't bring it up again." All Lady Wang wanted was for Feng Wu not to take her revenge. As a matter of fact, Feng Wu wasn't going to do anything about it, for she was already a spiritual saint and wouldn't bother with someone like Lady Wang. "Wait, where's Xiaoqi?" Looking around, Feng Wu didn't see Feng Xiaoqi anywhere and was perplexed. The kid had gone to see Luo Zilin and had come back with him. Why was he gone all of a sudden? "Don't tell me he's gone to the inner courtyard," Feng Wu murmured to herself as she quickly walked toward the inner courtyard. Seeing Feng Wu leave, Lady Wang looked a little shaken. She then turned to Feng Sang and said, "Feng Wu is so powerful now that we can't even begin to imagine. We can't afford to offend her. Got it?" Patting her chest, Feng Sang nodded and said, "Of course, I don't dare to offend her now. I've been treating her nicely and taking good care of Fallen Star Yard." Aren't you the same?" Feng Yanfeng chimed in. "Xiao Wu may seem cold to us, but she's kind deep down. After what we did to her, she forgave us in the end. We have to be nicer to her from now on." Feng Yanfeng's family had made up their mind that they would stick to Feng Wu from now on. What they didn't know was, something big was happening in Fallen Star Yard. Feng Wu had been wondering why Feng Xiaoqi wasn't in the front yard, but when she walked into Fallen Star Yard, she realized that something wasn't right. Granny Zhao and Uncle Chiu were lying in the courtyard. One was facing upward, and the other was lying in the mud. They didn't move at all and looked like they were dead. Feng Wu was shocked. "Granny Zhao! Uncle Chiu!" Feng Wu rushed over to check their breathing. They were barely breathing, but luckily, they weren't dead. "Luo Zilin!" Feng Wu called out. Chapter 41-43, New Start, 2. Luo Zilin had been loitering outside, but when he heard Feng Wu's voice, he rushed in. "What's wrong? What's wrong?" He then saw the two elderly servants, who were barely breathing and lying on the ground. By then, Feng Wu had already rushed into the room. Luo Zilin looked around and realized the danger, so he followed Feng Wu in. Mom? B0XO. Calm. Feng Wu rushed into the beautiful lattice room, but there was no one there. "Xiaoqi? Feng Xiaoqi?" Feng Wu searched every room and every corner, but they were nowhere to be found. Feng Wu panicked, and her head went blank. "Luo Zilin. My mother is missing and so is Xiaoqi." Feng Wu turned around and looked at Luo Zilin. Feng Wu's mother and Xiaoqi were the people that had warmed Feng Wu's heart ever since she came to this world. Protecting her family was what motivated Feng Wu to keep making breakthroughs, but now, her family, the most important thing to her, was gone. "They're probably out there. They'll go get them." Feng Wu rushed out. Meanwhile, Feng Sun, Xian Yi, and Duan Chaoge were still around. They were walking toward Fallen Star Yard when they saw Feng Wu rushing out of Fallen Star Yard. "Xiao Wu!" Feng Sun panicked. He wanted to run up to Feng Wu, but Feng Wu was simply too fast for him to catch up with. Feng Wu was genuinely anxious. Yes, Feng Xiaoqi would run around, but not the beautiful lady. "Feng Sun, my mother is missing and so is Xiaoqi." Feng Wu ran around like a headless fly. Hearing that, Feng Sun and the others started searching for Feng Wu as well. Just then Xian Yi, who went into the house next door, cried out in surprise. "Grandpa!" The garden next door belonged to Grand Secretary Feng. Not only was Grand Secretary Feng Xian Yi's grandfather, but he was also Feng Zioqi's teacher. And Xian Yi's voice was so shrill. Xian Yi would never have reacted like this if he hadn't been so shocked. Feng Wu dashed toward the house next door, where Xian Yi was holding an old man in his arms. He was panic-stricken. Feng Wu's stomach lurched, and she had a very bad feeling. As expected, she ran up to the old man lying in Xian Yi's arms. It was Grand Secretary Feng. Feng Wu rushed to Grand Secretary Fang's side and checked his breathing. However, Grand Secretary Feng was no longer breathing. Feng Wu checked his pulse in a fluster and realized that she couldn't feel his pulse. "Let me!" Before she knew it, Luo Zilin had arrived. He pulled Feng Wu to the side with a grim look on his face while he examined Grand Secretary Feng. As soon as he examined the old man, Luo Zilin knew that something was wrong. "Because he's dead. I'm sorry for your loss." Luo Zilin sighed. That? Was Grand Secretary Feng dead just like that? Grand Secretary Feng, who had helped Feng Wu and taught Xiaoqi, was dead? That's impossible. I don't believe it. Luo Zilin, get out of my way. Feng Wu rushed over and pushed Luo Zilin to the side. She then took a deep breath and checked Grand Secretary Fang's pulse. She said, "I just couldn't find his pulse, that's all." "Big deal. They'll find it soon." Before Feng Wu could finish, Xian Yi looked at her in sorrow. Feng Wu still couldn't find his pulse, but she was still stuffing elixirs into Grand Secretary Fang's mouth. Chapter 41-44, New Start, 3. She put supreme level and semi-divine pills into Grand Secretary Fang's mouth. "Swallow it. Swallow it. You'll come back to life." "Xiao Wu." Xian Yi grabbed Feng Wu's sleeve, shook his head at her, and said in a sorrowful voice, "Grandpa is dead." Feng Wu blanched, but she still wouldn't give up. She tried her best to save Grand Secretary Feng, but in the end, Grand Secretary Feng was beyond saving. Everyone's face darkened. B0XO. Calm. Just then, Luo Zilin returned, and Feng Wu asked anxiously, "Have you heard from my mother and Xiaoqi?" Luo Zilin shook his head. Even Luo Zilin, who had always been unperturbed, had a solemn look on his face. He looked at Feng Wu and said, "I'm afraid it's not going to be easy. Calm down. You won't be able to solve the problem no matter how anxious you are." Feng Wu nodded, took a deep breath to calm herself down and asked, "Do you have any leads?" Luo Zilin shook his head. Feng Wu said coldly, "No lead is the biggest lead. If something goes wrong, there must be a trace. So, it has to be a cultivator much more capable than them." Just then, Luo Zilin crouched down and examined Grand Secretary Feng. In the end, he said, "I think we have a lead now." "Speak." Feng Wu prompted. "That's the smell of skull leaf grass." Luo Zilin pointed at Grand Secretary Fang's chest. Grand Secretary Feng was struck in the chest and killed. The skull leaf grass only grows in the territory of the Dayan Empire. You don't have it on this continent at the moment, so we can conclude that someone from the Empire is involved, Luo Zilin said calmly. The first person that came to Feng Wu's mind was Yenyu. And there's the palm print. If I remember it correctly, it was left behind by a spiritual sovereign. Spiritual saints can't do that, said Luo Zilin. Feng Wu nodded. Dayan Empire, spiritual sovereign. That was Luo Zilin's conclusion. There was no enmity between Grand Secretary Feng and the Dayan Empire, so how could he be targeted by the spiritual sovereign and assassinated? Or did Grand Secretary Fang's death have something to do with the disappearance of Namorner Anamalkov under Grand Secretary Fang's nails? After a closer look, Feng Wu saw that there was a little black mud under Grand Secretary Fang's nails. Feng Wu realized right away that it was the black mud of Fallen Star Yard. Feng Wu had carefully set up the entire Fallen Star Yard with a formation. She had even enhanced the black mud with her spiritual essence, so she recognized it right away. How can there be black mud under Grand Secretary Fang's fingernails? Could it be that when Xiaoqi was taken away, Grand Secretary Feng only managed to grab someone's shoe when he tried to grab Xiaoqi? Feng Wu examined Grand Secretary Fang's nails and saw that they were indeed scratched. Grand Secretary Feng must be the last person to see Xiaoqi and my mom. Feng Wu said affirmatively. Grand Secretary Feng wanted to save my mom and Xiaoqi, but they were so powerful that Grand Secretary Feng, I think you're right, Luo Zilin said to Feng Wu. If that's the case, your mother and Xiaoqi should still be alive. If they really want to kill someone, they could have done it, just like what they did to Grand Secretary Feng. They wouldn't have gone through so much trouble to take the body away. Chapter 41-45. New Start, 4. So, the most likely possibility is that the person took your mother and Xiaoqi and was spotted by Grand Secretary Feng. Grand Secretary Feng then tried to save them, but in the end, Luo Zilin and Feng Wu's analysis coincided. Who took my mother and Xiaoqi? How dare they kill Grand Secretary Feng? Feng Wu clenched her fists. She wasn't going to let that person pay for this. So what if they were spiritual sovereigns? Yes, that was a capable cultivator, but she was already a spiritual saint. Where are you going? Seeing that Feng Wu was heading for the door, Luo Zilin stopped her. Go find Yan Yu and his people. Feng Wu said calmly, but she wasn't calm at all. Luo Zilin said, Yan Yu has a lot of people on his side. If you go to him now, you'll only get yourself killed. Plus, are you sure he's the one who has taken your family? Feng Wu said, even if he didn't do it, he had something to do with it. Luo Zilin said, the strike that killed Grand Secretary Fang's is indeed similar to the killer palm from the Yen Manor, but it's only similar. There's no conclusive evidence. Feng Wu said, they're not your family, so of course you're not in a rush. Seeing that Feng Wu was going to leave, Luo Zilin said anxiously, trust me. I'm in a more urgent state than you think. Feng Wu wouldn't believe him. Luo Zilin said in resignation, all right, he'll take you to Yan Yu, but I don't know if he'll be able to catch up with him. Luo Zilin led Feng Wu onto his flying sword and headed for the Dongsang Kingdom. Yan Yu had made a promise that he wouldn't do anything to the kingdom for a year. When they arrived at the Dongsang Kingdom, they saw the miserable state the kingdom was in. Feng Wu's eyes widened because this place was almost completely different from what she saw last time. The ruins, the wounded, and the dead all made it look like a slaughterhouse. A man knelt outside the imperial palace, looking utterly defeated. Feng Wu walked up to him and saw that it was Night Owl. Night Owl's face was shriveled and covered in blood. He looked so miserable. What happened? Feng Wu stared at Night Owl. Night Owl looked up at Feng Wu and only moved his eyes after a while. He pointed at Feng Wu but didn't know what to say. Right now, Feng Wu wasn't pretending to be anyone else. It was all Yen Ye's doing. Night Owl was filled with despair. He looked at Feng Wu and suddenly smiled. His smile was bleak, and his voice was as shrill as a ghost. He couldn't bully the Junhua Empire, so he had to come back and vent his anger on the Dongsang Kingdom. He was the culprit behind all the ruins. He's insane. He has massacred all those people in the city. The common people are innocent. What did they do? Why did they get slaughtered? Did he have to kill all these people just because he wants to vent his anger? But he wouldn't kill me. He said he wanted me to watch my people die from the pain. Feng Wu, kill me. Night Owl stared at Feng Wu. Just kill me. Night Owl was tied up on the ground and couldn't exert any strength. He had lost his cultivation ability. Feng Wu and Luo Zilin exchanged looks. They had come here as fast as they could, but Yan Yu and his men had left already. They had killed so many people before leaving. Chapter 41-46, Dynasty Road, 1. Can you tell me how the Junhua Empire got away? Night Owl stared at Feng Wu and asked, how did you get away? All Feng Wu could think of was, if she couldn't protect the Junhua Empire in a year, all the people of the Junhua Empire would be slaughtered. Feng Wu clenched her fists. Was being weak their fault? Wherever capable cultivators went, all hell broke loose, and no one could blame them. Updated on B0X and Zerlu. These people are innocent. Feng Wu took a deep breath. Luo Zilin looked at Feng Wu and said seriously, "That's why you have to become stronger. Only when you're stronger than him will you not be bullied." Look, he didn't even dare to make a sound in front of Senior Huyen. Feng Wu clenched her fists and nodded. Luo Zilin was right. She had to work harder. Let's go. Feng Wu and Luo Zilin charged forward again. In the far north, there was a place where the continent met the Dian Empire, and that was the only way to get to the empire. If Yen Yu and the others wanted to leave, they would have to use this passageway as well. When Feng Wu and Luo Zilin arrived, Yen Yu and the others had opened the tunnel and were ready to go in. Feng Wu glanced around but couldn't see the beautiful lady or Xiaoqi anywhere. Yen Yu doesn't smell like the skull leaf grass, nor does anyone else, Luo Zilin whispered to Feng Wu. Yen Yu was about to go in when he heard the noise and came back to himself. He smiled a little when he saw Feng Wu. I was wondering who it was. So it's Feng Wu. Are you here for me? Feng Wu studied Yen Yu's face, trying to figure out what he was thinking. Yen Yu smiled casually and went up to Feng Wu. Crossing his arms, he asked, "What? You don't want me to leave? Do you want to come with me? I'll make you a concubine when we get back. What do you think?" Yen Yu. Luo Zilin gave him a warning look. "Oh, I forgot about that. You've hooked up with Luo Zilin and taken the Luo family's path," Yen Yu smiled. "I can tell you now that the path you're taking is a dead end." He turned to leave after that. "You have something to do with my mother and Xiaoqi's disappearance, don't you?" Feng Wu asked in a cold voice as she watched him leave. He smirked, turned around, and stared at Feng Wu. "Really? Why do you think Feng Wu kept her unblinking gaze on him? Because you talk too much and you're trying to change the subject." Yen Yu smirked, "But you're wrong. I didn't take them. Go look for them if you don't believe me. See if your mother and brother are in the crowd." Feng Wu turned to Luo Zilin and said, "There's another person, and he's more capable than all of them." Luo Zilin clenched his fists and asked Yen Yu, "Who's that?" Yen Yu laughed. "I didn't know you could deduce such things." "Well, I can tell you, but how about we make a bet?" Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. "What do you mean?" He pointed at the glowing passageway behind them and said to Feng Wu, "You can reach the Dian Empire from here. It's called an express tunnel." Chapter 41-47, Dynasty Road, 2, but there's another way, which is called Dynasty Road. It's not a direct route, but one that's full of twists and turns. Through these obstacles, you can also reach the Dian Empire. If you can become the top contestant in Dynasty Road, that person will give your mother and brother back to you. Feng Wu stared at Yen Yu. "Who's that person?" Yen Yu pursed his lips. "Don't ask who that person is. I can't afford to offend them, nor can Luo Zilin. Apart from yourself, no one can save them." Feng Wu turned to look at Luo Zilin, who was obviously displeased. Feng Wu asked, "Do you know who it is?" "Updated on B0X and Zulu." Calm Luo Zilin nodded. "If that's the case," Luo Zilin hesitated. "If that's really the case, even the Luo family won't be able to handle it." Who was that person? Why was the whole thing so mysterious? But with everything that had happened, Feng Wu didn't have any other choice. Moreover, she could still take the risk. Why is there a first place on Dynasty Road? Feng Wu stared at Yen Yu. Yen Yu grinned. "You're not the only one walking that path. You can assume that your continent is on the west and the Dian Empire is on the east. Tian the middle is the area of the desert and ancient ruins, and there are countless tunnels from the west to the east. However, the tunnels will converge in the end, and when they reach the Dian Empire, they'll form a main road. On your way here, you'll earn points from killing magical beasts, obtaining the legacies of the ancient ruins, or breaking the exam record. Of course, in the late stage, killing other participants will give you a percentage of the points. Once you're on Dynasty Road, you won't be invisible anymore. The referees will know everything you've done. As for the referees, one of them is from Yen Manor." Yen Yu gave Feng Wu a half-smile. "Do you dare to take the challenge?" Luo Zilin said, "The Luo family has one as well." Feng Wu nodded. "So does the sacred Mu Cliff as well?" Luo Zilin said to Feng Wu. Luo Zilin didn't know the real relationship between Feng Wu and the sacred Mu Cliff, but he knew that they were on friendly terms. If the sacred Mu Cliff and the Luo family helped Feng Wu, she would be treated like a princess in the Dian Empire. Feng Wu nodded again. All right. Yen Yu glanced at Feng Wu with a half smile and said, in that case, I'll see you in Dian Empire, my dear girl. What was that supposed to mean? Luo Zilin was the first to lose his temper. However, before he could say anything, Yen Yu marched into the tunnel and disappeared from sight. The Dynasty Road is very dangerous, Luo Zilin said in frustration. Plus, I've already walked Dynasty Road, so I can't be by your side to protect you. In fact, even if we don't take Dynasty Road, I can take you to the Dian Empire. With the Luo family's protection, you'll be able to do whatever you want in the empire. But with Lord Yen and the princess working together, the Luo family can only fend for themselves. There's nothing else you can do, right? Feng Wu looked at Luo Zilin. Luo Zilin said, well, Feng Wu said seriously, since Yen Yu has made an offer, it means that my mother and Xiaoqi are safe for the time being. After you go back, you can ask around for me. Chapter 41-48, Dynasty Road, 3, Luo Zilin nodded. Of course, I'll ask around for you, but you, don't worry. Dynasty Road may seem dangerous, but it won't be a problem for me. Feng Wu paused, then said in a solemn tone, didn't Yen Yu say that there are a lot of places with treasures and heritage of ancient ruins on Dynasty Road? Luo Zilin nodded. Feng Wu said, I'll go find the treasure and heritage. When I reach the Dian updated on B0xN0, Calm Empire, I'll become a spiritual sovereign. Luo Zilin almost choked on his own spit. What did you just say? A spiritual sovereign? Feng Wu nodded and said seriously, that's right. I'm going to become a spiritual sovereign, and only a spiritual sovereign can walk freely in the Dian Empire. Am I right? Luo Zilin said grumpily, you think too highly of the Dian Empire. It's not as scary as you think. A spiritual sovereign can do a lot more than walking around freely in the empire. They can do whatever they want. Think about it. Isn't that Senior Huyen a spiritual sovereign? Yen Yu was scared out of his wits too. And look at Yen Ye's guard. He's only a peak spiritual saint. Feng Wu was already a spiritual saint now, not to mention that she was an advanced one. However, she didn't know if she would ever have the chance to make another breakthrough. After all, to make a breakthrough into the spiritual sovereign stage required more than talent, but luck as well. Feng Wu said, if luck is the key, trust me. I've never lost to anyone before. After they got back to the Junhua Empire, Feng Wu went to look for Emperor Wu. Feng Wu didn't see Emperor Wu when she went to court. Instead, she ran into the Empress Dowager in the long corridor. The Empress Dowager tried to walk away when she saw Feng Wu. Ever since the incident with Yen Yu, the Empress Dowager had felt an instinctive sense of guilt and reverence for Feng Wu. She didn't know how to handle such complicated feelings, so she chose to stay out of the way. Hence, she turned to leave when she saw Feng Wu. Feng Wu was speechless. After a few steps, the Empress Dowager suddenly realized that she was the Empress Dowager. Why should she leave? Even if she had underestimated Feng Wu, it didn't mean much. She was the Empress Dowager, and no one would dare to criticize her. At that thought, the Empress Dowager was filled with confidence and courage. She turned around and glanced at Feng Wu, who was about to walk past her to see Emperor Wu. You don't even greet me? What? Do you hate me that much? The Empress Dowager's voice was cold and hard. Feng Wu felt a headache coming on. This Empress Dowager was so hard to handle. She glanced at the Empress Dowager. Can I help you with something? The Empress Dowager was speechless. Was that how a junior treated her? The Empress Dowager wasn't used to having her temper under control. Just when she was about to flare up, Granny Lan stepped out and smiled at the Empress Dowager. Your Majesty, didn't you say that Miss Feng Wu helped you a few days ago and that you were going to reward her? The Empress Dowager darted a haughty look at Feng Wu and said grumpily, why should I reward her for her stubborn attitude? Pet. The corner of Granny Lan's mouth twitched, and she didn't know what to say. The Empress Dowager was the one who had been sighing about how wonderful Miss Feng Wu was and how wrong herself had been. Unfortunately, the Empress Dowager was as stubborn as His Royal Highness. Chapter 41-49, Dynasty Road 4. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Feng Wu didn't have time to chat with the Empress Dowager, for she still had something very important to tell Emperor Wu. The Empress Dowager was furious as she watched Feng Wu leave. She left just like that? I'm her future grandmother. Is that how she treats me? Update on Biomicron X Zeroville. Tomicron, look at the look on her face. She's so eager to leave that she doesn't want to talk to me anymore. She's so capable now. Granny Lan sighed. Why did the Empress Dowager have to say such mean things? She had changed her opinion of Miss Feng Wu and even said that she would agree to her marriage with the Crown Prince, but the words coming out of her mouth felt like daggers. Meanwhile, the Empress Dowager was equally frustrated. She smacked her own mouth and wondered why she could be so mean. She decided that she would show Feng Wu some respect the next time the girl came to court. No one knew when Feng Wu would be in court again, which was something the Empress Dowager didn't expect. Feng Wu entered Emperor Wu's study. No one knew what they talked about, but Master Gao saw the serious look on Feng Wu's face when she left. Feng Wu went back to the Fallen Star Yard to find Feng Sun, Xian Yi, and Duan Chaoge waiting for her. Seeing her, Duan Chaoge rushed to her side. Xiao Wu, where are Xiaoqi and your mother? Seeing how hesitant they were, Feng Wu knew that they were worried, so she told them about how she and Luo Zilin had stopped Yanyu. So, Auntie and Xiaoqi are fine, and someone from the Dayan Empire did it? Duan Chaoge was furious. That abominable Dayan Empire. Why are they everywhere? What do they want? Feng Sun was furious as well. I really want to go to the Dayan Empire now. But we're not strong enough yet. Xian Yi looked a little angry. All of a sudden, he turned his serious gaze on Feng Wu. We want to get stronger, and we have to. Feng Wu rubbed her chin and thought the same. Feng Sun and the others were very capable when the people of the Dayan Empire didn't show up, but now that they were here, Feng Sun and the others weren't capable enough. Chaoge was a junior spiritual overlord now, while Xian Yi and Feng Sun were intermediate spiritual overlords. It would take them a lot of effort to make any progress, and they would have to have enough fortuitous encounters. That's why I want to go to Dynasty Road. Xian Yi said earnestly. My grandfather's death has made me realize that this is a world where the strong are respected. I have to get stronger and take revenge for my grandfather. Feng Wu didn't answer Xian Yi right away. Just then, Feng Sun said in a serious tone, I have to get stronger too. I saw you getting bullied by that young General Yi, and I didn't know what to do. So, how can I be your brother? I have to get stronger. And me. Xiao Wu, you're making breakthroughs so fast that I don't want to be left behind. Take me with you. I won't be a burden. I'll work hard to become stronger. Feng Wu pursed her lips. Dynasty Road is very dangerous, and I don't know if I can get out of here alive. Yu Chaoge said, I'm not afraid. I'd rather die than become a cripple. Me too. Me too. Before Feng Wu could say anything, Luo Zilin said, there's something Yanyu didn't tell you earlier. Entering Dynasty Road isn't a one-on-one thing. You have to be in a group of 5. Chapter 4150, Dynasty Road 5. You won't get in on your own, and you'll die anyway. There are 4 of you now, and you're still one more member. Luo Zilin looked at Feng Wu. Dynasty Road is a very important place, so be careful. Feng Wu gave it some thought and asked Luo Zilin, will 4 people do it? Luo Zilin shook his head. No, it has to be 5. Feng Wu asked, can't you do it? Luo Zilin said, I've been there before, and am a spiritual sovereign. I can't do it. Update on Biomicron X Zeroville. Xiaomicron M. Feng Wu was speechless. For a moment, she couldn't think of a good candidate. Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu. Just then, footsteps and anxious voices came from outside. Feng Wu looked over her shoulder and saw a figure rushing toward her like a small tornado. It was none other than Yu Minji, whom she hadn't seen in a while. I can do it. I can do it. Yu Minji ran into the room in excitement, raising his hand as he ran, fearing that someone might leave him behind. Feng Sun was frustrated when he saw Yu Minji. He mumbled, why does he look so unreliable? Yu Minji glanced at Feng Sun and ignored him. He then ran to Feng Wu's side and tried to hold her hand. However, Feng Wu wouldn't let him, so Yu Minji had to tug at her sleeve. Xiao Wu, can you take me there? Feng Wu was speechless. Feng Sun was dumbfounded, Xianyi rubbed his forehead, and Chaoga didn't know what to say. Feng Wu looked from Feng Sun to Luo Zilin. Him then? Luo Zilin nodded. It's your decision. By the way, this is the family token of the Luo family. It may work if you run into danger on Dynasty Road. After all, the Luo family is one of the top 4 forces. Feng Wu asked curiously, the top 4 forces? What are they? Luo Zilin said, the Dayan Empire you're talking about, is it a force that controls the entire continent and is respected by all people? Feng Wu asked, is it not? Luo Zilin said, yes and no. It used to be the case with the Dayan Empire, but ever since Master Mu Jiuzhou left the Empire has lost a lot of control. Many forces have separated from the Dayan Empire. Therefore, the 4 superforces are the weakened Dayan Empire, the sacred Mu Cliff, the Luo family, and the residence of Prince Yan. Apart from that, there are 6 major sections. They're the primordial pagoda of Buddhism, the formless sect of the Sword Sect, and the Red Feather Room, where the woman cultivates. There's also the Medicine God Valley, the Mountain Sea Academy, and the Murong family. That's something you need to pay attention to because it's very easy for you to run into youngsters of these forces on Dynasty Road because they'll all go there to train. After all, that was what I did back then. Feng Wu nodded. Before she could ask another question, Luo Zilin said, because you're not from the Dayan Empire, I can't tell you too much. That's a rule and taboo. It won't do you any good. Feng Wu nodded. But I still have a question. Luo Zilin said, go ahead. Feng Wu asked curiously, so, what's our relationship? I won't believe it if you tell me that it's nothing because you've been helping me the whole time. I don't think you're that generous. Luo Zilin chuckled. So, you know that I'm not a generous person. Chapter 4151, Dynasty Road, 6, Luo Zilin chuckled. So, you know that I'm not a generous person. If you want to know, I won't keep it from you, but now isn't the time. How about this? I'll wait for you there when you reach the end of Dynasty Road. I'll tell you what our relationship is. How about that? Feng Wu said, deal? Luo Zilin said, it's a deal. Feng Wu had her own speculations about their relationship, but she still needed Luo Zilin's confirmation. Since they had agreed to meet at the end of Dynasty Road, she would wait until then. The next day, Luo Zilin sent Feng Wu and her team to their starting point on Dynasty Road. Update on Biomicron X Zeroville. Semicronim ordinary people couldn't get in, and only Luo Zilin's hand plate could open the boundary stone, which was where Dynasty Road started. He looked at Feng Wu. Although he couldn't bring himself to let her enter Dynasty Road, he still remembered what his elders told him, so he had to tell Feng Wu, Dynasty Road is open now. You guys can go in. Feng Wu nodded and led her team onto Dynasty Road. Her friends had no idea where they were going, but Feng Wu had Luo Zilin draw the map overnight, so they knew the way. Feng Wu said, we're going to have 18 trials. 18. Feng Sun was the first to react. He jumped to his feet and stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu nodded. There are a lot of trials, but they won't be too difficult. We can do it. Yu Minji glanced at Feng Sun and snorted. What? Are you scared? Feng Sun, I see that you're not good enough. Feng Sun punched him in the shoulder. Who can't do it? Do you want to compete? Seeing that they were going to bicker again, Feng Wu rubbed her temple in resignation. Xian Yi and Chaoga stepped up and pulled them away. Only then did the two of them separate. Feng Wu took out the map and told them, this is the first trial we're going to pass. Feng Wu pointed at the desert on the map and told the others, this is where we're going for our first stop. It's where the ruins of the desert palace are. If we can get the legacies from here, our future will be much easier. Chaoga asked curiously, the legacy of the desert palace? Feng Wu nodded. We're in the territory of the Dayan Empire once, but it has shrunk since then. Look at the map. It used to belong to the Empire, but now, Feng Wu drew 3 circles on the map. According to Luo Zilin, The Dayan Empire is located in the inner circle, and the other forces are in the middle and outer circles. The Desert God Palace is in the outer circle, and no forces or sects have ever lived here. It's a place with no one to rule. They used it to train their disciples. The Desert God Palace won't be too dangerous, and it'll be safer for us. Feng Wu glanced at the others. Chaoga hadn't reached the spiritual overlord stage yet. Feng Sun and Xian Yi were intermediate spiritual overlords, and Yu Minji was a peak spiritual overlord who could reach the spiritual saint stage at any moment. Therefore, Feng Wu decided that she had to make Yu Minji a spiritual saint. That way, their team would have 2 spiritual saints and their safety would be guaranteed. Chapter 4152, Desert Divine Palace, 1. However, was it as safe as Feng Wu said? It was 5 days later when they arrived at the Desert Palace. We're finally here. Chaoga saw the ruins of the Divine Palace a short distance away and turned to Feng Wu. Luckily you know the way. I would have gotten lost by now if I were you. The Desert God Palace was surrounded by a formation. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to get in, but Feng Wu's formation level was already very advanced, so it wouldn't be a problem for her. They were still walking in the formation when they heard a voice. Hey, are you here to look for the ancient ruins as well? Update on Biomicron X Zeroville. Siomicronim, an excited voice rang out. Feng Wu looked up and saw a teenager in a red robe. He was running happily toward Feng Wu and stopped in front of her. Are you trapped here as well? Do you have anything to eat? Give me something to eat. Feng Wu was speechless. Who are you? Before Feng Wu could say anything, Feng Sun stepped out and narrowed his eyes. I'm from the Mountain Sea Academy, and my name is Ji Xingxing. I've been trapped here for so long that I thought I was going to starve to death. Luckily, I ran into you. The red-robed teenager suddenly frowned. Are you trapped here as well? Feng Wu gave him some food but didn't answer his question. Instead, she asked him why he was trapped there. Ji Xingxing heaved a long sigh. I came here with my senior brothers and sisters, but I got separated from them and got stranded here. I don't know what happened to them, but they have the map, and with senior sister Zhao Xin, who knows formations, they should have left by now. The teenager said to Feng Wu as he ate, but don't worry. Senior sister Zhao Xin will definitely come in to save us. Just come with me. When they come to me, you can leave with them. Feng Sun said grumpily, don't worry. Xiao Wu will get us out of here. There's no need to wait for your senior martial sister. Ji Xingxing looked at Feng Wu in surprise. Judging from your accent and clothes, I don't think you're from Dayan. Feng Sun said, we're from the Junwo Empire. The Junwo Empire? What's that? Ji Xingxing smacked his forehead. I studied geography in school. The Junwo Empire? It's more like a small kingdom, isn't it? Are you really from that uncivilized place? Uncivilized place? Feng Sun didn't like the sound of that at all and retorted, what do you mean? The Junwo Empire is great. It's nothing like that. Ji Xingxing said, judging by the map, your small Junwo Empire is only the size of a sesame seed. How can it not be? All right. Since you've given me the supplies, I won't say another word, all right? So, it really was an uncivilized place, Ji Xingxing thought to himself. He had some hope for this team at first, hoping that they might actually get him out. However, ever since he found out that they were from a backwater place, he lost all hope because it was impossible. Just listen to me. Sit here and wait. You're not going anywhere, wait a minute. Chapter 4153, Desert Divine Palace, 2. Ji Xingxing was surprised. Holy crap! Is there light ahead of us? Are we out of that trap already? Ji Xingxing couldn't believe his eyes. He then turned to Feng Wu. You really know formations and you're very good at them. Ji Xingxing remembered that when Zhao Xian led the way, she would hold the astrolabe in her hands and locate the spot as she walked. She was so careful, so serious, and so prudent. She was so afraid that she wouldn't be able to make it if she made the slightest mistake. Ji Xingxing remembered that this group simply chatted as they walked as if they were strolling in front of a court. They looked so relaxed and they walked out just like that. Was it just luck? Ji Xingxing thought to himself. He didn't believe that the people of that uncivilized place knew formations better than those of Dian. Feng Wu didn't take it to heart. Ji Xingxing. Feng Wu and the others were about to leave when they heard a girl's voice. Immediately after that, many people looked in their direction. Feng Wu looked up to find a teenage girl in a purple dress running toward them. She ran straight for Ji Xingxing with a look of disbelief on her face. Ji Xingxing, you're out? You're out? The girl gave him a nudge. How many times do I have to tell you? This formation is unfathomable. Don't let your mind wander off. How dare you leave your team? Ji Xingxing didn't utter a word. The girl jabbed a finger in his forehead with a stern look on her face. Do you know what we're going to tell the principal when we get back? You're the principal's only child. I'm so mad. Update on Omicron X Zeroville. Omicronim Liang Jin, the senior brother, stopped Zhao Xin. Luckily, our junior brother is out. He's alright now. But my junior brother, aren't you lost in there? How did you get out? Ji Xingxing pointed at Feng Wu. I came out with them. Liang Jin thanked Feng Wu on Ji Xingcheng's behalf, and Feng Wu greeted him with a nod. It's not easy to get out of this maze. May I ask who your master is? Liang Jin asked Feng Wu curiously. The girl had an outstanding temperament and was stunning. If she knew formations, she wouldn't be a nobody in Dian. He should have heard of her before. Ha! Senior brother, you must find it strange. Why haven't you heard of them before? Ji Xingxing gloated. Liang Jin nodded. We've met and exchanged blows with almost all the outstanding members of the younger generation of the families and forces, and we know each other well. However, I'm sorry, but I didn't recognize them. They're from the Junwu Kingdom, said Ji Xingxing with a smile. Senior brother, it's normal that you haven't heard of them before. I was shocked when I heard about that place too. Liang Jin was surprised. How could such an amazing girl be born in a place like that? That was incredible. However, he soon stopped looking surprised and smiled. That's very surprising. Feng Wu, Feng Sun, and the others exchanged looks. It seemed that the Junwo Empire wasn't worth their attention at all. Feng Wu didn't think much of it, but Feng Sun and the others seemed displeased. Zhao Xian had wanted to compare notes with Feng Wu on formations, but she lost interest when she heard that they were from such a small place. Chapter 4154, Desert Divine Palace, 3. Feng Sun and the others were all sensitive people, so of course, they could sense those people's contempt. They made up their minds that they would work harder on their cultivation. Feng Wu didn't think much of it. She only smiled. So, aren't you going in? Wasn't the entrance to the desert palace right ahead? The mottled bronze ring was right above the door. Shouldn't they push the door open and enter? However, Liang Jin only gave Feng Wu a wry smile. Not yet. Not everyone is here yet. We can't go in yet. Feng Wu asked, why not? Liang Jin said, to open the door, we need a spiritual emperor to help us, and we need to remove the restriction. We don't have either, so we can't open the door. Feng Wu asked, what are we waiting for then? Before Liang Jin could say anything, Zhao Xian said, we're waiting for someone to remove the seal, and that person is coming our way. Liang Jin nodded. It's Fairy Jingmi of Red Feather Room. She's the only one who can open the seal. Feng Wu wouldn't believe it. She walked up to the ring and began to study the seal. Wait, didn't this formation look like a cube? Does that mean you only need to match the color? Feng Wu turned around and asked Liang Jin. Liang Jin nodded. That's right, but it's so difficult to match the color. If something goes wrong, it'll become more and more complicated. It used to be level 3, but Zhao Xian made 2 mistakes just then, and it's level 5 now. Feng Wu nodded and started working without another word. Update on Omicron X Zeroville. Simicron. Hey, wait. Everyone in Liang Jin's team shouted at Feng Wu. Feng Wu looked at them in bewilderment. Is there a problem? Zhao Xian frowned before Liang Jin could say anything. Don't touch it. Feng Wu said, what? Zhao Xian said, I've turned it into a level 5 one. I heard that the senior brother of the Murong family can solve it. What if you make a mistake? What if we reach the 6th level? Even senior brother Murong family can't solve it. Before Feng Wu could say anything, Yu Minji walked up to Zhao Exayan and glanced at her. Resting his arm on Feng Wu's shoulder, he said in an intimidating tone, "Xiao Wu is awesome. She'll be able to pass even level 10, let alone level 5. Right, Xiao Wu?" Zhao Exayan stomped her foot in frustration. "Hey, barbarians from other lands, can you stop being so conceited? You've never seen the world and don't know how difficult the formation of the Dayan Empire is. You have no idea at all? It's impossible. Senior brother Liang, talk to them." Liang Jin didn't know what to do either. He had always been a kind person, and since Feng Wu had saved Ji Xingxing, he couldn't bring himself to say anything harsh. However, he smiled bitterly in the end and said, "Miss Feng Wu, how about we wait for the Murong family? Murong Linhai will be here soon, and he owes us a big favor." Now, crack. Feng Wu made a move before Liang Jin could finish, and the door to the restriction finally opened. Liang Jin stopped abruptly. Zhao Exayan and Liang Jin looked at each other in disbelief. Just like that? Wait, how did she do it? Why did it open? It was as if she had just casually. Chapter 4155, Desert Divine Palace, 4. Ji Xingxing was equally humiliated. He stared at Feng Wu and said, You didn't get lucky. You really are a very capable formation master." Seeing how surprised they were, Feng Wu's team members gloated. These people had underestimated Feng Wu. Yu Minji even threw a hand over Feng Wu's shoulder and glanced at the others in satisfaction. "Now you know how capable Xiao Wu is." Feng Wu moved Yu Mingye's hand away in resignation. Feng Sun stepped forward and shoved Yu Minji out of the way. "Be civil. What's with all the touching? Out of my way." Yu Minji smirked. "Feng Sun," Feng Wu said in a hurry, "you two shut up. Right now." Feng Sun and Yu Minji exchanged looks, snorted at each other, and turned to leave. While Liang Jin and the others were still in shock, Feng Wu walked into the desert palace first. Feng Sun and Yu Minji rushed in after her. Liang Jin and Zhao Exayan looked at each other, and Liang Jin said, "Shall we go in as well?" Zhao Exayan nodded. "Yes." Feng Wu didn't know this place well, so Liang Jin quickly walked up to her and said, "The further we go, the more powerful the spiritual essence will be. Do you see the clearing over there? Update on Biomicron X Zeroville." Xiomicron M. Feng Wu nodded. There was indeed an open space in front of the hall. Walk past that open space and you'll reach the second floor. There are rush cushions inside. It's said that everyone only has one chance to choose one. Choosing the cushion is like rolling the dice. If you're lucky enough, sit on the right one, and you'll have a chance to inherit the ability. Feng Wu asked, "Can only the capable ones get to the second floor?" Liang Jin said, "That's not it. The more talented one is, the more qualified they are to enter the second floor. After all, the masters of the Desert Divine Palace only test one's talent, not their capability. If one were to compare their capability, all the legacies here would have been taken by the more capable ones. So, the succession depends on fate. If you're fated or talented enough, you'll have a chance to inherit it. But you, what about us?" Feng Wu asked in bewilderment. Liang Jin said, "But you're all from the other world. How talented can you be?" "I'm sorry, but I'm not good at lying." Feng Wu didn't know what to say. "In that case, you might as well keep it to yourself." Liang Jin said, "Well, maybe you're fated with the masters, aren't you? It has nothing to do with talent. It's all about luck." Feng Wu looked at the empty space in front of her and was lost in her thoughts. Zhao Exayan walked away before Liang Jin could say anything. Everyone knew that the first one would be more likely to get it. After all, there was a limit to what one could inherit. "Senior sister, why are you so fast?" Seeing that Zhao Exayan was marching forward, Ji Xingxing wanted to stop her, but he couldn't because she was moving too fast. "Senior sister, aren't you looking down on them? Miss Xiao Wu was the one who opened the restriction. Shouldn't she enter first? Why did you get to it first? That's just ridiculous." Ji Xingxing was a little angry. His senior sister was so snobbish. Seeing that they were from an uncivilized land and didn't have any connections in the Dayan Empire, she decided to break the rule. Chapter 4156, Desert Divine Palace, 5. If Feng Wu and her people were all from the Dian Empire, no one would dare to break the rules. Liang Jin apologized to Feng Wu in a hurry. Feng Wu only glanced at him without saying a word, but she frowned a little. "Let's go," Feng Wu told her friends. They followed Feng Wu. Seeing that Feng Wu kept moving forward, Liang Jin couldn't help but smile bitterly. Did she really think that she was walking on flat ground? This was the gravity domain, and the further she went, the stronger the suppression. Take Zhao Xian as an example. She had been walking fast at first, but she had stopped and was very careful with her steps. "She's a stubborn girl," Liang Jin said to Ji Xingqing. "But she'll soon know how hard it is. Forget it. She's from a small town. If she doesn't learn her lesson, she'll run into even bigger obstacles in the future." However, he stopped abruptly when he saw that Feng Wu was a meter away from Zhao Xian. Ji Xingqing said, "Senior brother, that Feng Wu..." Liang Jin was surprised. Why is she walking so fast? Why is she behind Zhao Xian so soon? Zhao Xian is already one of the most talented students in the college. Ji Xingqing said, "That's right. Senior sister Zhao Xian is quite talented. Doesn't that mean that Feng Wu is... Just wait a little longer. Maybe she'll stop soon." However, update on Biomicron X Zeroville. Xiaomicronim Liang Jin was humiliated again. Zhao Xian was the one who stopped, not Feng Wu. Right now, Feng Wu and Zhao Xian were walking side by side. Zhao Xian was focused on her walking when she sensed a shadow. She looked up and spotted Feng Wu. "You." Zhao Xian stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. "Why are you here?" "You..." She couldn't believe it. Wasn't this girl called Feng Wu from a small, uncivilized country? People there were all very untalented, but why was she moving so fast in this place that tested one's talent only? Zhao Xian wouldn't have it, and she was filled with jealousy. But soon Feng Wu surpassed Zhao Xian. Zhao Xian was astonished. 15 steps. Feng Wu had made 15 steps. Moreover, Feng Wu walked effortlessly without stopping. What did that mean? It meant that the first 13 steps weren't a problem for her at all. It meant that she still had a lot of potential. Zhao Xian turned around and exchanged looks with Liang Jin, who was walking toward her with Ji Xingqing. Liang Jin smiled bitterly. He didn't expect to be humiliated again. In the few minutes since he met Feng Wu, he felt as if he had been slapped more times than he had ever done in his life. Liang Jin didn't dare to try to define Feng Wu anymore, so he told Zhao Xian, "Just walk your path. That girl may be an exception." Was Feng Wu an exception? Of course she was, but was she the only exception? Zhao Xian was still sulking when she realized that another shadow had fallen over her. A teenager stood next to her. Turning her head, Zhao Xian saw that it was Yu Minji, the teenager from Feng Wu's team. "It looks quite boisterous here. Brother Murong." Chapter 4158, Desert Divine Palace, 7. Zhao Xian turned around and saw Murong Linhai. She waved at him in excitement. "Brother Murong, come here." It was indeed Murong Linhai of the Murong family and his friends. The Murong family was also one of the 6 major sects, and they often interacted with the Mountain Sea Academy. Therefore, Zhao Xian knew Murong Linhai, the teenager of the Murong family. Murong Linhai was one of the best among the younger generation of the Murong family. He had a junior sister and several junior brothers with him. The restriction outside has been lifted? Murong Linhai walked toward Zhao Xian and the others. "Which one of you has removed it?" Liang Jin was about to say something when Zhao Xian cut him off. "It was a coincidence." "Coincidence?" Liang Jin glanced at Zhao Xian. That didn't seem like a coincidence at all. Zhao Xian gave Liang Jin a warning look before turning to Murong Linhai. "Brother Linhai, you're here already. We'll be relieved to see you here." Murong Linhai smiled. "Don't worry. With me around, you won't run into any danger." The person behind Murong Linhai reminded him. Murong Linhai nodded and said to Zhao Xian, "Since the door is open, let's move on. Choosing the prayer mat will be the most difficult trial. There are 6 palace masters in this place. Apart from Luo Zilin, the genius of the Luo family, no one has inherited the teachings of the first palace. Update on Biomicron x Zeroville. Omicron, there are so many of us here. Maybe one of us will be lucky enough to inherit the teachings of a palace master. Murong Linhei's eyes flickered. Zhao Xian nodded. If anyone has the highest chance of inheriting the teachings of the masters, it has to be brother Linhai. Murong Linhai chuckled and said humbly, "You flatter me. Since we're all here, of course, we all have a chance." Zhao Xian tried to flatter him again. Brother Murong is the most capable and talented of us all. If the masters have to pick someone, of course, they'll pick you. Murong Linhai was pleased, but he still said humbly, "Luck is the most important thing in the palace. Talent doesn't count. It's an equal opportunity for everyone." Liang Jin and Ji Xingqing exchanged looks and both shook their heads. Zhao Xian was flattering Murong Linhai too much. Just then, Murong Linhai heard a noise from the second floor. What was that? Murong Linhai frowned. Zhao Xian said, "Someone has gone up there." Gone up? How can an ordinary person get up there? Murong Linhai blurted out. Staring at the stone staircase, he grew anxious. He wanted to run as fast as he could, but the gravity in the hall was like a swamp that stopped him. It would take him a while to gather his spiritual essence and move forward. He wasn't alone. Liang Jin and the others felt the same. Zhao Xian looked troubled. Murong Linhai asked harshly, "What on earth happened?" Zhao Xian said grumpily, "There are a few cultivators from an uncivilized world. Somehow, they've come to the Dian Empire." Chapter 4159, Desert Divine Palace, 8. Were they the ones who opened the door? Murong Linhai looked alarmed. Zhao Xian nodded. That's right. The leader is called Feng Wu. She opened the door to the desert palace by accident. Are you sure it was opened by accident? Murong Linhai asked. Zhao Xian nodded. Yes. It was an accident. Only then did Murong Linhai feel a little better. If one had unintentionally opened a door, that was luck, but if the person opened the door after hard work, it would be a sign of capability. Murong Linhai wouldn't allow anyone better than him in that aspect, especially those of his generation. But, after much difficulty, Murong Linhai, Zhao Xian, and the others finally reached the second floor. They saw 5 people each sitting on a rush cushion. Golden light shone from them, and they looked as if they were covered by Buddhist light. They sat cross-legged with spiritual essence lingering around them, looking like gods and goddesses descending to the mortal world. What? Murong Linhai's face darkened. It was obvious that all 5 of them were receiving the inheritance. Zhao Xian cried out as well. She had said a lot of bad things about these people on their way here, but reality had just slapped her in the face. Are they accepting the legacy? Zhao Xian couldn't believe her eyes. That's impossible. Murong Linhai said, "Of course it's possible. It's happening." Murong Linhai took a deep breath. There were only 6 palace masters in total. After Luo Zilin inherited one of them, there were only 5 left. Murong Linhai wanted to say that it was impossible just like Zhao Xian did. But he had to admit that it was the truth. Zhao Xian asked, "Did all 5 masters give away their legacies?" Luo Zilin used to be the only one who had obtained it, and it wasn't like one could buy it wholesale. Murong Linhai threw a dirty look at the 5 people, took a deep breath, and turned to leave. "Brother Linhai, where are you going?" Zhao Xian rushed to his side. Before Murong Linhai could say anything, one of his junior sisters smirked. "The treasure of this trial has been taken by someone else. What's the point of staying here? Are you waiting for them to humiliate you after they wake up? Naturally, we're going to find the second trial now." The members of the Murong family left in a hurry, but Feng Wu and her friends left a lasting impression on them. One didn't have to obtain the treasures to pass the 18 trials. In fact, there were 18 hidden treasures in the trials. If one was lucky enough, they could inherit or take them. If not, they would simply move forward. However, such an opportunity could only be accessed once in a lifetime, and it would be such a pity to miss it. Zhao Xian glared at Feng Wu. It wouldn't be so bad if only Feng Wu had inherited the legacy of a palace master, but why did all 5 of them inherit it? But why? Zhao Xian wouldn't accept it. Only then did Liang Jin and Ji Xingqing realize what had happened and draw in their breaths. As expected of Sister Feng Wu, Ji Xingqing gave her a thumbs up. That's incredible. All 5 of them. The chance of getting even one was slim, but they all got it. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.